comment on Facebook. Sometimes I think people are burning bridges when they should be learning more about construction. Two related points. The second one is the one I had in mind more so, but the first one I came across since I posted that comment originally. First point. An online pastor I listen to and I allude to a fair amount of time, he mentioned ministries exposing sin. Online ministries is the context for the most part. He reasons that these ministries want justice for those that the ministry is criticizing and supposedly exposing sin. But this is paraphrased. Those ministries themselves and the persons involved, they want grace, mercy, and forgiveness for themselves. They don't want to be measured by the standards that they measure others. He states these ministries and these persons involved should judge themselves by the same standards that they judge those they're trying to expose. As Jesus Christ said in Matthew 7, which I've documented from the English Standard Version. That's an interesting point to ponder on. And I've said likewise quite a few times online. My second point, and the first idea that came to mind as I was publishing the comment, sometimes I think people are burning bridges when they should be learning more about construction. I think too many Christians, in my opinion, when faced with controversial issues, topics, discussions, are burning bridges rather than trying to construct dialogue and relationships. They're emphasizing what they see as justice from their own perspective, but they're not emphasizing love, forgiveness, grace, mercy. And I think perhaps when there's disagreement, one has to reconsider their own position. How reasonable is it? How well thought is it? Are they refusing to dialogue more so just to protect themselves? Are they not really interested in the truth, or just in what makes them feel comfortable? Personally, for myself, I'm not into debating endlessly, and when we disagree strongly, there's a point where there's no point debating anymore because we're not going to make any progress. However, and I've said that many times online and offline, so I'm being consistent. However, when someone refuses to dialogue with me and they simply burn a bridge, it really comes across intellectually, philosophically, theologically to me like they're not willing to reconsider or change position. They won't dialogue with me because if they dialogue with me, they might be, and I might be too, forced to reconsider my position. They may have to repent of sin. I may have to repent of sin. And if they don't, in love and truth, dialogue with me and confront me, I'm missing out too on an opportunity to change and maybe have to repent. But the key for the person that burns bridges when they should be learning more about construction is, I don't think they want to change. They have set positions. They don't want to reconsider. And if they dialogue with me or someone else in a similar situation, indeed they may have to repent themselves. I mean, I've said before, when there's a conflict in dialogue, if I only see myself as 10% to blame, then I should take 10% of the responsibility and look at it as my responsibility, not be concerned about the other person, because I can't change the other person. The closed-minded approach really risks, when someone burns a bridge and they're not willing to construct dialogue, it really risks possessing in their life, in the context discussed, God's permissible will, not God's perfect will. Because how can they know if it's God's perfect will when they don't seek options, when they don't seek the truth, when they don't truly seek whether they're wrong, when they just assume that they're right, and maybe they have social support from family or friends or society. They assume they're right, but they risk receiving God's permissible will and not God's perfect will because they weren't open-minded enough to see whether they might be wrong, talk to someone with a different view, and perhaps they have to repent. So those two ideas, 1 and 2, basically reflect my statement. Sometimes I think people are burning bridges when they should be learning more about construction.